gonna go ahead and call this work session to order, June 16th, 2021. We have a couple items from Highway. Ms. Ridge.
Good morning again. The first item that we have, we updated our Chapter 755 last year, use of work and within a county right-of-way. We wanted to make a modification to Section 755-4, which is basically exempting state and other specified government entities from the county's bond requirement when they're working in the right-of-way. We did include a list. It's basically Bloomington Transit, City of Bloomington Utilities, City of Bloomington, Indiana University, Indiana Department of Transportation, Richland Bean Blossom School System, Rural Transit, State of Indiana. Basically any county project that we would be doing that's performed for us would not have to be bonded, and then the town of Ellisville. So if you have any questions on that, it's just basically for other government entities. Contractors, utility companies will still be required to bond.
Sounds good. Let's see if my colleagues have comments on that.
No, it's a good idea.
Commissioner Giffens, anything?
I know Lee is out, but looking at the list, I do want to check with him to where maybe Monroe County Community Schools should be on that list, since we have Richland Bean Blossom, and I just now caught that. So
yeah, that would make sense. So you're gonna bring this back in a week or so, or
can bring it to your regular meeting next Wednesday.
Sounds good. Okay. And you have another item for us?
I do. I have one more item. So we've been getting quotes over the last probably year and a half. I believe the first year we got quotes from AT&T for GPS in our county highway vehicles and on our road equipment. We did get a quote recently from Verizon Connect, which was extremely lower than what we've seen in the past. I believe they get Sourcewell pricings that we're all familiar with government discounts. We met with Verizon Connect and also Eric Evans and Greg Cron were involved in the meetings, and Toby Turner, the highway superintendent. They did a presentation for us and what the software can do and what kind of information we can get out of it, how we can use it to benefit efficiency a lot in the department. A perfect example of that is when we have snow removal and such, we will get calls asking, when are you going to be to my road? You have not touched my road. This will be able to us to inform the public in a better way of, yes, we have a truck in that area. They should be able to be there within this amount of time. Or we were there at 6 a.m. this morning. And it's snowing, snowing more, and it doesn't appear that we've been there, but we can kind of track it that way. If we have a tree limb, or if we have an officer on site to where there's a tree that's fallen, we would be able to get on our computer, track where the closest vehicle is, and be able to get them to respond to that hazard that's in the roadway in a more reasonable time. So it's those kind of purposes. Also, we had a tractor stolen, I believe about a year ago. It's a $100,000 tractor. Sometimes we leave these, we will find property on a piece of land, and the property owner will let us keep it on their land instead of getting it back to the garage at the end of the day, then hauling it back out. It just takes time away from the actual job that you're performing. So we did that, and we had a tractor stolen last year. If we would have had a GPS unit on it, we probably could have tracked where that tractor was. So we find many benefits. Sometimes our vehicles will, I think some of our trucks get confused with maybe say like EMB dump trucks because we're the same color. Our emblems look really similar. I remember receiving a call that said that, one of our trucks was driving 70 miles an hour down 37 at the time. We didn't have a truck in that vicinity. We were all at the highway garage, but this is the kind of things that we can help with the department, help with public information of, and if there is a complaint and it is our driver or such, we can look into that if we receive a report of speeding or dangerous driving or any of that manner. But I think looking at overall benefits for the department and for the efficiency of what we can report to in a reasonable amount of time helps support this. We do have the money in our fleet line to be able to pay for this. I think it's something eventually, I think maybe Greg Cron has looked at it in different ways of different items for them. But he thought this could fit would be a good fit for highway when we did the presentation.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Comments, questions? Commissioner Jones?
Yeah, this is a great idea. I'm really glad that you're pursuing it. I was just wondering would it be possible to disable the GPS, or do you know if that would be very difficult?
If it is disabled, then we are notified that it's disabled.
Very nice.
So that was a question we had also. And I believe, and I know Toby's on here if I get something wrong, I believe installation and everything right now they're running a, not a special, I guess I should say, a deal that they will install all the GPS equipment onto the vehicles and the equipment. And that's not at any extra cost to us at this point. I believe if we have the contract and everything done by July 1st, is that correct, Toby?
Yes, that's correct. If we get our contract done and get our orders in by July 1st, there is the actual unit that plugs into the equipment or the truck. That piece of equipment is no charge, and the installation is no charge. So it would just be the monthly fee.
That's what I was thinking. And we're looking at a monthly fee on what we have existing right now. Looks to be about $11,921.40. Again, we've looked at other options, but we get so many complaints, especially with snow removal, and saying that we haven't been to the area. And this is just a way to try and get a truck to an area that might be closer than calling on the phone and finding out where that driver is and trying to track who's the closest area. We can just visually look at it and get on the radio or phone and send that truck immediately to that direction. So.
Mm-hmm. Commissioner Gibbons?
I remember a year or more ago when we were talking about some of this, you said something too, that with snow removal, sometimes mailboxes will get damaged or destroyed, and you'll get a call saying your truck did it. Well, we'll know whether or not our truck was even in that area.
And another a good perfect example of that, sometimes our drivers get out into an area where they have no reception. And if you can't get hold of a driver, it kind of makes you a little bit nervous on if they've, ran off the road. This will let us know if a truck is set idle too long. Maybe that might be bring awareness to us that there could be an issue. I do know we had discussed GPS with other counties that have already implemented this program. And one of the reasons why one of the other counties had done it is because they couldn't get hold of one of their drivers. Tried and tried. They went to the location where they believed him to be, and he had a heart attack in the ditch. But and this was one reason why they went with GPS. They could know exactly that truck was sitting there idle way too long and something was wrong. So, I mean, there's just so many benefits that you can use this for. So.
Makes a lot of sense. Totally support it. I think it's well worth the money. And I would imagine our insurance company would be happy to see this too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can bring it to next Wednesday's meeting if you guys are okay with it.
Yeah, you both all right? Yep, sounds like we're on board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Toby. So next we have Ms. Purdy. Good morning.
Yeah, excuse me, good morning. I am coming to you, cover my face up so I'm not looking at myself, for Mr. Michael Grubb. He is the coordinator for B-Town Hot Summer Nights. And he is working in conjunction with the Monroe County Fair Association. So a little history for this is last year on March 4th, you guys had reviewed a request by the fair and by Mr. Grubb. And he's under his license, his business is MAG 4546 LLC. And that meeting was to allow for a barbecue and music festival at the Monroe County Fairgrounds. And that was going to occur on July 24th and 25th of last year. That was actually approved during that particular meeting. However, the world went kind of sideways as the COVID-19 pandemic hit the United States. So since that time, Mr. Grubb has gone through the process again and obtained all of the necessary permits with the exception of a temporary event permit from the planning department. And the planning department says their permit is dependent upon the receipt of the noise waiver. So Mr. Grubb and the Fair Association also recognize that although there are currently no health restrictions in place outside of those imposed by the Centers for Disease Control, should that change as a result of increased COVID-19 cases or its variants, and sanctions might be imposed now, and between now and the end of the scheduled event, they are expected and required to meet all of those restrictions that are imposed. So the noise waiver would read that you would grant a waiver from the noise ordinance to the Monroe County Fair Association and MAG 4546 for the barbecue and music festival, which will be held this year on July 23rd and 24th. The waiver is founded upon the barbecue and music festival being a temporary 2-day event. The information presented last year demonstrated minimal noise impact to the neighbors, and the location already has an exemption for certain activities. Such grant is only for the nights of July 23rd and 24th and shall only permit activities which would otherwise be in violation of the county's noise ordinance until 11:01 p.m. on July 23rd and I got 45 in here, 24th. The permit shall expire on July 24th at 11:01 p.m. The Fair Board shall contain the music portion of the festival to the areas that have been provided. So I had originally thought I had requested to put this on the formal agenda, but it's here before you today. So I would defer to Mr. Cockrell as to whether or not you can approve this today and whether we need to actually bring it back next week for ratification or not.
I think it can be approved today.
Thank you.
I would suspect that this kind of falls in between because this is something that has been reviewed by the Board of Commissioners, and it's somewhat of a continuing item, but then the event never occurred.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it would be the commissioner's decision on whether they'd like to have it at their regular session next week, because it does fall in between those two guideposts.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Comments, questions, Commissioner Jones?
Just since we approved it last year, I don't see much problem again this year.
Commissioner Giffens?
Actually, I have several questions, and I don't know if Mr. Grubb's not here. I know we approved this last year, and then we may have covered some of this, but I wanted to know how loud actually those bands will be, because there are a few residences out in that area. Not a lot, but a few. The volunteer groups that are listed on page 20 of our work packet are different from those that are listed on page 24. And some of these volunteer organizations, one of which has supposedly been in existence for 19 years, that's local, I've never heard of. On page 19, it says the contract is to continue until terminated. Is that termination the end of the session? To me, it looked pretty open-ended. And then who's going to enforce, questions like who's going to enforce social distancing? And which I think during this, because he lays out there'll be this grid and then only 2 people per vendor at the vendor sites and things like that. And also, is it legal to have beer and wine at the fairgrounds?
Yes, they've already gone through all of that process. Now, because the beer and wine, they'll have to actually go through the alcoholic advisory, the board, to get the permission for that. And regarding the agreement that says it goes on until terminated, that is the agreement between the fair board and MAG 4546. And so this just means that they don't have to create a new agreement if they come back next year to do this again, if this is a successful event. As far as the social distancing, I suspect that information was provided at the time when we did have social distancing criteria in place. Right now, that is not in place for fully vaccinated people. So he doesn't need to comply with that at this point in time, because he just has to comply with the CDC guidelines as they currently are. As far as the sound, the noise of the band, I have no idea. And I don't know that I would ever.
I can't give you the specifics, but I can tell you that when they came through last year, there was a lot of discussion about the direction of the speakers, and that they were all facing towards essentially the Cars Farm Park area and away from the residents. And we did a really thorough examination of all that.
Yeah.
And that's why it's actually stated that the music portion is going to be maintained in the areas that are specifically provided for that music, so that makes sure that volume is directed away from the residents.
Right. And we didn't have any public concerns or complaints when we first heard this.
You did not.
Event, right?
Yeah.
So normally I would say, well, this impacts residents, so we probably should, but we didn't hear from anybody. It's one evening, and
2 evenings.
I'm sorry, 2 evenings. It's one weekend, I meant to say, but it's not, and if hopefully there won't be any issues, and hopefully this is something we would alert the sheriff's department about, dispatch about, so that they know. Hopefully there aren't any issues, and if they want to do this again, if there are issues, we could definitely take it up next time.
Yeah, most definitely. And he's already worked with the sheriff's department for traffic flow.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I just remember that this, when we had these discussions, they really were very thorough in their planning. And of course, COVID can throw the best plans off rails. But so I would be okay hearing this today, but Commissioner Githens, if you want to wait till Wednesday, if you have additional questions and you want to wait till Wednesday, we could do that, and then that will help make sure that residents are aware as well. There's a benefit to doing that, so I'm okay either way.
I did have one other question. Initially, it says that the sponsors of the Monroe County Fair Association and the MAG 4546. And then on page 25, it lists a third sponsor as Majero Inspection Services. And I don't know what that is or why it's different in 2 different parts of the contract here.
I don't know. And I'm just trying to look, because it's actually multiple documents that you have. And so I'm trying to figure out which one you were actually looking at.
I'm looking at just page 25 of the work packet that we were sent. It lists a third sponsor in there that was not listed earlier, because it said there were 2 sponsors initially.
Well, there's 2 people who are creating this event. That's the fair and MAG 4546. They may be contracting with Jeff, are you?
But a contractor's not a sponsor.
Right.
I have no knowledge on this issue, so
Okay. I don't know either.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't remember them being part of the discussion last year, but that could just be due to my failing memory.
Well, and I'm not sure. So you said page 25. And that's the newest.
That's the newest one for, says
Yeah.
23rd and 24th of July.
And so what paragraph are you looking at?
It's not a paragraph, it's a table,
Okay, you're looking at a table. Gotcha. All right.
and it's got principal partners, participating nonprofits, and then sponsors. And so I don't know if the sponsors are different than the partners. I don't know if they get money back later on, whereas, I just don't know what happens, how that fits in. That's all.
Okay.
So again, do you want to vote on this today, or would you like to wait a week?
I would prefer just to wait a week to allow
Okay.
anybody in the area to be
Okay.
able to be there.
Okay. So let's make sure this gets on our formal agenda next week.
I will do that. Thank you.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Let's see if there's any other departments that have an item that they want to bring to us. I don't see any. No, it looks good. Okay. Anything else from the board for the good of the order? Okay, very good. With that, I will adjourn our work session meeting. Thank you all. Be well.